Hey, friends. April Woodcock here with Touching Clients. I hope that you're well and welcome to Tip Thursday. Every Thursday, I bring you a live stream with a digital marketing tip to propel your business forward. So I'm so glad you're here. Drop a hello in the chat. I'd love to say hello and see where you're from. Today, we're going to be talking about turning customers into advocates, word of mouth marketing. And this is something where, I don't know about you, but I think sometimes it's gotten a little bit easier over the years. But as a business owner, asking for reviews and asking for referrals is sometimes a hard thing for some of us to get to ask, and then what to do with them. Where can we put them? So my goal for you today is that we're going to go through and I'll give you some tips, and you'll walk away at least with one aha moment that you can take and put action into your business pretty much immediately. So definitely drop the questions here. If you are catching the recording, you are welcome to tag me here in the comments, because I do get those notifications and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. All right, so let's get started here. All right. So again, we're talking about turning customers into advocates, the secrets of word of mouth marketing. Is it really a secret? No, it's probably just a little bit of a refresher. But all right. So a little bit about me. Again, my name is April Woodcock. I own Touching Clients, a digital marketing agency here in Eastern Connecticut. It's pretty chilly. This week it's been cold, I got to tell you. We have some snow coming, which is always interesting when they're trying to predict in the Northeast the amount of snow. We'll see who gets it right. Hopefully it's actually a doozy. I'm ready for a doozy. But you're always welcome to reach me at touchingclients.com or awoodcock@touchingclients.com. So what's the most valuable thing in your business? It's definitely not your inventory, although it's important, obviously, to sell products. And it's not your equipment. It really is the trust of your clients. And I go back to an old statistic, but it still holds true today. It's changed a little bit, but about 14% of customers are wowed by customer service experience. So as business owners, we have huge opportunities to be able to wow our customers. In a day of AI and all of these marketing automation tools and automated systems, we still can be humans, and we still can be true to our brand, to our voice, and really start building that trust of our customers. And it takes from our first interactions, right? So trust is the new marketing, but not really. It's always been there. Trust is how people do business with us, right? It's that know, like, and trust factor. But at the end of the day, people have been flooded with ads. They've been flooded with AI posts on social media, and they're not trusting those posts. There's definitely questionable, is this a real human? Is this a real video? Is this real content? But they do trust their neighbors. People do trust the opinion of others. And so that's really important for you to remember. Ads definitely make interruptions in what we do, but recommendations, they invite people to ask these questions. Who do you use? So I think from a local business perspective, this is a huge opportunity for word of mouth marketing. So I know that if you've been with me before, I always use the plumber example, but it definitely holds true. I remember when Facebook started became more and more popular. And now there's these groups within communities. People ask, what plumber are you using? I need a plumber. And you'll get a list of people talking about their plumber. Who do you trust? That's another thing. Who do you trust to come into your home, to come into your business, to help you handle your services? And the big thing is that word of mouth marketing definitely shortens that buying decision. If you think about how you search and buy products or buy services, there's always a look at reviews. It definitely makes a difference. And it's even better if it's somebody that's actually used their product or service. So kind of the growth gap. If your customers aren't happy, they're definitely going to they could advocate for you in the wrong way. So your goal at every step of the funnel for your business is really to wow them, to turn them into brand ambassadors and advocates for your business. A lot of them do it because of their experience. It's how you made them feel. That's going to make a world of difference. You're working harder more than you need to if you're actually not doing these things. And here's why. You're spending dollars on marketing to get the word out there, but you have the people that have truly experienced your product or service that can attest to that can talk about that. a lot of us rely on social media posts. We rely on discounts. How can we get them in the door? And we also, a lot of us do paid advertising. Now, I'm not saying these things aren't important to your business and what you're doing in your digital strategy, but at the end of the day, you have people that can talk the talk and walk the walk of their experience with you. So you have to keep that in mind. The best marketers are the people of your that are already your customers. So let's talk a little bit about turning those customers into advocates. So this applies to any industry, friends. So that's what's nice about when you think about word of mouth marketing. And I was actually, when I was kind of looking, and I've talked about reviews and online directories and all of these things before throughout my my training time. And I was trying to think about, like, is this exclusive to one industry? It's not. You know, I think way back it was kind of applied to, it would be local businesses. But if you're an online content creator, if you're an online business, e-commerce, this applies to everyone. You definitely don't need a large audience to be able to turn your customers into advocates. And you don't need complicated marketing funnels. More and more, as there's so many choices of softwares and there's so many choices of not only softwares, but how AI is a tool that helps us a little bit more to be productive. It doesn't need to be complicated, friends. You can do this. If you're a solopreneur, if you're a business that has multiple employees, even a corporation can do this. If you're a bigger brand, this is something where it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. It just needs to be intentional. It needs to be human, and it needs to be simple. So product-based, and I kind of just covered that, but we all rely on our reputation, right? So one bad review can definitely make a difference in a business. And I'm a Taylor Swiftie. I'm a Swiftie. And I was reading earlier today, my daughter she's like, what are you doing? But anyways, you know, in an instant, something can change in a reputation, right? So Taylor Swift, people either love her or hate her, but all the haters have come out to kind of say all the bad things about her reputation, which is fine. However, it's also how you handle that as a business owner, right? So our goal is to fix problems before they become problems, right? So always listening to our customers and trying to fix. Now, there's definitely, you may come across a client that might not be a good fit, and that's okay. But when we're looking at our reputation, we need to do our best to make sure, especially as small business owners, and if you're in the community, you want to make sure that people are talking good things about you. Or if it wasn't the best experience, that they're saying that how you resolved it. So, but it definitely helps build that credibility faster for you. And again, it goes across all industries. So you don't need more marketing. We're already doing marketing. You know, when I talk, I was talking and doing a training. I did a training on Monday, and it was kind of the basics of online marketing. And one of the things was, a question came up and somebody was saying, well, what, like, do I need email marketing, marketing automation? Do I need social media? Do I need paid ads? Do I need Google ads? Do I need all these things? So it doesn't necessarily mean you need all these tools. What you do need is to really look at what's in front of you and how you can monetize or to build that trust in your business to reach bigger audiences. So you don't need a bigger budget. You don't need people talking about you when you're not in the room. But you do need, you do need people talking about you when you're in the room. It's 24/7. So if somebody's at an event, or again, I use the Facebook example, if somebody's in a group, you want to make sure that your business is heard and talked about the experience. One positive experience can create multiple opportunities. And that is true. I found my electrician through a Facebook group. Turns out they actually knew somebody they did work for in my family. And then it turned into, for that electrician, into multiple, he went to my mother-in-law's house, multiple opportunities because of that word of mouth marketing. And growth doesn't require constant promotion. It requires building trust and foundation. And that's one thing, everything that you put out to the universe, whether it be your in-person first impressions matter. You want to make sure that that when you are talking to clients, when you are giving them an experience and telling them about your business, that it is truly a positive one. So customer versus advocate. A customer is somebody that buys from you, is satisfied, and moves on. So that's a customer. We like customers, right? Because customers help turn the revenue wheel. They help bring in the money, so to speak. Advocates, they return. They come back to buy more. They make recommendations, and they will defend your brand. So our goal as business owners is always, obviously, we want customers because we know that we've started to build that trust, but we want to turn them into our brand ambassadors, advocates that are always advocating for us in situations where a question is asked and they're like, I know the right person for that can get the job done for you. So advocacy is a result. It's definitely not a tactic. So it happens usually after expectations are met, trust is built, and value is felt. I think sometimes people get overly excited about asking for the review or asking for that review on LinkedIn or a recommendation before they've really built that trust. So that's where kind of good listening comes into play, right? And that experience of how you're helping people. Experiences, the goal is to create these shareable experiences that you can use positively in your own marketing, right? Because that becomes marketing, that becomes true. That's not AI talking. That's not AI videos. That's not AI social media posts. It becomes very thoughtful, it becomes influential, and it humanizes your brand. So they definitely share how you made them feel. That's the big thing, how we make people feel, whether it be our product that we sold, how did that product make them feel? Did it solve their problem? Did your service solve their problem? It definitely needs to feel human. And I know that every Thursday, I feel like I'm always saying that human. And, one of my clients that I work with, he's a huge AI fan. He loves AI. He's also a huge productivity guy. His name is Steve Dotto. And I have so much respect for all the things that I've learned from him from AI. But the one thing that I have learned is that I don't, like him and he did a training a few weeks ago about AI video. And it just happened that I was in a forum and there was somebody that had posted this marketing video, wanted feedback on it. And it was about their business and it was done in AI. And it was so impersonal. It felt like kind of back in the day when it felt like before we actually had, sorry about that. It felt like before we had actually marketing videographers. That's Stella. Sorry about that, friends. Where we put together videos, we could use images to put together videos, which I still think you can do in Reels and social media. But this AI video just didn't feel personal. And so that's where we need to make sure that we're doing a good job connecting with our audience, not using these avatars all the time of AI. Everyone puts out these AI pictures now, whether they're in business or not. You see it all across social media. So, think about it that way. It needs to feel human. People need to feel that connection because that's how, especially connection is different now since COVID, right? We can connect here on video and you're seeing me, you see I'm real. I have dogs that bark, which is always something that is in my world. So if you don't like dogs, I'm sorry, you're definitely not in the right place, but I do have dogs. So think about it this way, from a shareable experience or kind of making people feel good, a thoughtful follow-up email, a thank you. I still believe in handwritten thank you notes can also be a great thing too. Remembering a customer's goal. I think it's always great, whatever you're doing. So like sometimes I might have talked to somebody in a networking event, or I've talked to them online, or we've just had conversations. And even for my clients, if I come across an article or a blog post that I think is helpful, I'll share it with them. Does it have to do with revenue at that point? No. Yes, my dog did steal the show there, the mind shifter. And kind of remembering their goal. So it's just being more thoughtful and methodical. And then obviously a stress-free experience. Dog environment can be a little stressful. I will say that. So these moments can happen during your onboarding. These are things as you're building your business and you're communicating with your clients, just to look for those opportunities, right? So is it during onboarding when they're first starting with you? Maybe it's how you're delivering your product, your proposal, whatever it is that you're delivering to your client after they get results. Obviously every business is different and some businesses are very results driven. So if they have great results and great experience, and then during the follow-up, Here's the thing that we all do. A lot of us stop communicating too early. We kind of, your customer buys your product, but how are we nurturing them? How are we keeping them on board with our brand and turning them into those raving fans and those brand ambassadors, those advocates for our business? So the story is huge. Storytelling is huge, right? Because why? People can relate to it. So, like I have my dogs in the background, somebody can relate to that. That's happened to them. I have technology issues. I do live streams all the time. I do webinars all the time. There's definitely some days I actually, before the holidays, had a webinar where for whatever reason, Zoom would not share my screen. And so I turned the technology into, I started to stress a little, and I'm usually pretty good in those situations, but I restarted like 4 times, and I had somebody say, hey, you know what, let's just go with like, why don't you share what you were going to share? And so I had like 15 people that stayed on this webinar, and I just went through, and there was no slides, no video. It was just human conversation. And I'm sure there's a story to tell about that, but people definitely don't repeat the facts. They repeat the stories. It's how you made them feel. And what it does is it creates that reliability. It definitely removes uncertainty from potential clients because you're building trust. They can relate to that. If people can relate to the story, they're more likely to continue down the path of getting to know you a little bit more. And stories help prospects see themselves. Again, relatable. Our goal is to be relatable to others and build that know, like, and trust factor. So what does make a good customer story? Well, there's lots of things, right? So the most effective story is obviously the problem that they had when they came to your service or when they bought your product, their experience, how you made them feel. How did it was their experience great? How did the product make them feel? Was there a result? That is the best customer service experience, right? And that's something that you want to share pretty much everywhere. So it's kind of that before, after, and what impact did you make on their business? Imperfect stories are usually the best. Why? Because people can relate to it. And I think that's a huge thing. So where do they belong? Your website is a great place to keep your stories. Definitely include them in emails, on your social media. Talk about them in conversations. I think one of the things, just even doing trainings, I talk a lot about examples of things that have happened that I've heard about. I share those stories over and over, and they make for great, it makes it relatable to what I'm trying to apply. Now, I don't always have that certain topics that I usually say from the beginning, like X is not like my strong point of a topic. So I'll let people know. I try to do my best to share experiences and tell stories with that, but it's not always well. But it can also bode well in proposals. You could include that as almost a case study where you can turn that positive experience, customer review into a case study that you can include in a proposal. So they're definitely reusable. They're evergreen for a period of time. Now, I would caution you that if you don't have any since 6 years ago, you might want to revisit how you're going to get those customer reviews and look for those advocates that can help you to bring your brand into 2026. So advocacy systems, and we call it advocacy, and I'm like, it's really customer, it's not customer retention. It's really brand ambassadors is what you're looking for, but it grows when you built in a process. You need to start thinking, and I do think, especially early on, it's hard to ask for reviews or if they can write a recommendation letter or if they wouldn't mind being on your website. It's something that should be part of your process over and over, a way that you feel comfortable that it can be repeatable and that it's easy. So for example, a lot of times if you ask for a review or if you ask somebody to be a referral, they're like, what do I say? And so now, obviously we're not putting words in their mouth, but I think it's always great to have like a few questions that you want them to talk about. So for example, what product, what service did you use? what was your biggest gain from it? Something where you can kind of, then it leads them to start to think about where they can share their information. And I'm not saying and it becomes easier for them. So a survey, SurveyMonkey, Google survey, if you use Constant Contact, they have a survey. And make sure you're asking for it at the right time. So again, you have to be in a place where you've built trust. You've gone through kind of your sales cycle of where you are with them. Maybe you've already done their service. Maybe you've gone through some training opportunities with them. And at the end, have a system where it automatically goes into, it's an email follow-up, maybe quick email follow-up, but a system that makes sense for you. So always think about asking after positive feedback. So if somebody's like, oh my God, that was amazing. This product, you helped me so much. Hey, would you mind putting that into like a Google review for me and send them your Google My Business listing? Or would you mind giving me a recommendation on LinkedIn? I would love that. And then you can repurpose that. Or you can also, again, create some kind of almost like a survey where you send it to them. It helps make referrals easy, right? And then you can provide the wording. Again, going back to kind of creating those surveys. And so an example, if this helped, would you recommend us? Or who else might benefit from this? So this is a bigger one. I think that's a lot of us are afraid to ask. Like, do you know somebody who could use my services? I'm looking at, I have openings for this. I have done that before. We used to do a lot of managed social media services. And we don't, we do a little bit now, but when I knew that there was an opening, like there was a kind of a shift in kind of clients, I would reach out to some of my clients that I knew had good experiences. Of course, obviously, I want them all to have great experiences, but I would say, hey, just so you know, if you know anybody in your network that's looking for, if you're anybody in your network that's looking for, social media services, I'm here to help. So just think about it that way. Some of the things that can stop an advocate on your part. So a customer advocate, they don't want to advocate because you've had inconsistency with them, poor follow-up, asking too early, and you've made the process complicated. So I know all of you, you're definitely going to ask at the right time. Obviously, you're going to know whether your clients had a great experience but making it complicated is the biggest thing. Simple systems that not only for your client to put in a good review for you, but you to also maintain that. We get into, again, I mentioned earlier, there's all these tools and all these things that we can do. You don't need them all. You just need simple processes and they will pay it forward over time. And just keep in mind that if you haven't heard from somebody, that doesn't mean that they're satisfied. What you want to do is you always want to have a system in place that you can check in with a client, whether it be an automated email, simple email, or somebody, maybe you have a time carved out on your calendar once a month that you reach back out to people. Just have a way to follow up so you can always, here's the thing, if people are silent and you just assume that satisfaction, and then all of a sudden down the road, they had a bad day and they're like, oh yeah, I want to leave this review and it's not a great review. You've kind of, all that hard work you've tried to do in creating that customer advocacy for you kind of goes down the drain because now you're answering to a bad review, which is hard to take off of most places. Obviously you can answer that to that review, but I would encourage you to have a follow-up system so you can always be creating that great customer service. One of the things your advocates do for you is they help build your community, right? And they stay longer, retention. So putting simple processes in place, even though it sounds like, oh, I'm just asking for reviews, you're not just asking for reviews. You're listening to the conversation and you're also looking for ways of feedback for a continued improvement in the services and products you offer. They're also going to buy again. I think it's like 25% come back and buy again with satisfied customers. They'll also bring others. That's the goal, right? That they're going to be your brand ambassadors. And it definitely helps your brand, right? It turns customers into belonging. The more you get to know your customers a little bit better. And I know that some of us, it's like, well, I have, X amount of members in my membership. If you can remember one thing, so one of the things I used to do a lot of in-person presentations before COVID. And sometimes I I don't know, maybe 300, 400 people in a month with constant contact. That might be a little bit high, but some months it was because we had like a day where it was 100. I am not great with names, remembering names, but the one thing that I am good about is I remember your business. And I say this because doesn't matter the size of your customer list. I think you can always find a way to personalize it. And I say this with the sense that I've seen people or they've emailed me and I don't recognize the name, but I recognize the business. And I'll tell people if I go to an event and I'll be like, I know, I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name, but you are you own the yoga studio in Mystic. And they're like, how did you remember that? I'm like, because I'm good at remembering that. And why? I think I hold on to that because in my mind, whenever I was doing trainings, and I still do this, I talk to the crowd ahead of time and I try to put in examples that are relatable. So it's about belonging. However you can bring your community, your customers together, it's going to pay it forward. So I challenge you because I think, see, I always say 30 minutes or less and I didn't check the clock today, but this week, I challenge you to identify your happiest customers. Make a list of 2, 5, 10, 25 happy customers and create one intentional moment with them. Ask for a story or a referral, and then remember to say thank you. Momentum starts small. So small steps is going to help pay it forward. And here's the thing, friends. If you have that system, you don't have to go back 6 years to look at your LinkedIn profile for a recommendation. You're continuing to add to your credibility, your customer satisfaction, and overall, the clients are going to stay longer. So just think about it from that perspective. Your goal is obviously to turn them into advocates and brand ambassadors, but there's other parts to that process that make sense for customer satisfaction. The strongest businesses are not louder, friends. They're more trusted. Trust is earned, takes time. Advocacy is invited. So we need to ask them to be our advocates. And then word of mouth marketing is designed. Once you get into those steps and those rhythms, it's going to make a world of difference in your business. So turning customers into advocates, build trust, create connection, and let your customers do the talking. I know you got this. You can do this. And let's see, looks like my Facebook here stream was not, okay. So my Facebook stream, I got an error message. So hopefully it resolved itself, maybe not. But anyways, my friends, I think it's one of those things where this is a small piece in our business of what we're doing, but this makes an easy part because you're already working with clients and you're already great at what you do. You're an expert and you just need to keep sharing that, but also use that to your advantage because those reviews and those customer advocates are worth gold and more as your marketing tool. So keep that in mind. All right. And if you were with me last week, we did Canva. I do just want to kind of show, here we go. In February, I have a Canva training coming up. It is a masterclass. If you are interested in Canva, if you have Canva skills, my goal of this masterclass is I'm going to teach you some higher level intermediate skills that you can take and implement into your business and make your life more productive. And we will build some things around customer advocacy. Feel free to scan to get on the wait list. I do not have, it is a paid, I should tell you it's a paid masterclass, but it's pretty nominal fee. But if you are interested in being on the wait list, please do. And let me see if there's any questions here. Next week, let me see what we're doing next week. And I can tell you here, I feel like it's branding. And I should know coming into here, I'm sorry. How to humanize your brand in 3 simple steps. So same time, 2 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. All right, so let's see what I have here. Hey there, speaking, yeah. I'm finding that people definitely appreciate authenticity. Awesome, Sherry. Forgot writing. Oh, Zambia, wow. Oh, interesting. Well, thanks for coming today. One thing I like about some email software is So, personalizing the emails can be a simple first name. Simple first name. If you have that, you can personalize it. I also think it comes from your messaging too, right? So, if you can make sure. So, I would avoid emojis in emails. I feel like that's definitely kind of a flag that you've used AI for your email. But I think if you can talk to your tone and your voice, you can personalize your emails pretty readily. Obviously, if you have the ability to send one-off emails, depending upon your client load and your how many people are in your customer funnel, obviously the personal email is going to go a next step. And then obviously, I suggested even a thank you note. That's something that goes a really long way if you have the ability. But some of us don't, because it depends on what you're selling, your product. So I would encourage you to, but I would encourage you to take a look at those email softwares, because they do have a merge tag typically at the top where you can merge in the first name. But if you don't have the first name, then you can personalize it with like hello. Like, so at the beginning, I'm always a hello friends girl. Hi friends. So that defaults to that when there's not a first name. But I do think it's in your messaging too. So just keep that in mind. All righty. Well, I appreciate everyone's time today. Thanks so much for coming. It was great to see you, and I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Make it a fantastic week. Stay warm, stay cool, depending upon where you are, and stay, go sled riding if there's snow where you are. Have fun. I'm looking forward to the snow, actually, like I said. So I'm hoping there's sled riding in my future. All right, my friends, make it a great day. It was so great to see you, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.